Hi, this is Wendy Brown, Director of Education for Children of the Nations. I am so excited to talk to you today about the education aspect of our holistic care. Holistic care is the approach we take when we serve our children in Children of the Nations, which means we offer services spiritually, physically, emotionally, and educationally. So I work with some wonderful colleagues in the international department, and we oversee those holistic care areas. My background in education, I have over 30 years of experience in education. I started as a special education teacher, and then I was a high school English teacher, a junior high mathematics teacher, and then I had the opportunity to go to elementary school, and I was given the assignment of kindergarten, which is when I really fell in love with teaching. I love teaching. I love teaching kindergarten. I loved the excitement about learning that there is at the primary level. So I taught kindergarten, first and second and third grades for a while, and then also what became a learning specialist, which meant I was uh, in the administrative area of our school, and then I ended my career in public education as a curriculum specialist, specifically a curriculum specialist in the literacy area. After that, I joined Children of the Nations and have been with Children of the Nations for 11 years now. But my first experience with Children of the Nations was in 1998 when Debbie Clark, one of our co-founders, recruited me to go on a teacher training trip to the Dominican Republic. And from that time on, I just fell in love with the countries that we work in, with the teachers that we work with. And as much as I love teaching children, I really love developing adults into better and better teachers. So my role at Children of the Nations is a joy to me every day. So if you want to go to the next slide, Terry, what do I do? And who are we that work in the education department? Well, part of my role at Children of the Nations is to support the education leaders and teachers that we already have in our countries. And so I do that by helping to monitor their progress, to develop trainings, and to just be an advisor to their educational programming. Another person that works in the education department right now is in the middle of the screen, and that's Linda. And Linda has taken a year off from her teaching career, and she has devoted it to developing more of our teacher training materials. And so she's very good and involved in staff development. And then in the bottom corner is James, and James began with Children of the Nations as a volunteer teacher in Sierra Leone. We were desperate for science teachers, and so James volunteered and went to Sierra Leone, and he's also a technology specialist. So after he served for 2 years as a teacher, he also joined our staff as a science and technology specialist. All right, let's go to the next slide, Terry. We have an end result. We begin with the end in mind. That's how I like to approach things. So our end is written here, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about that end result and highlight a few words. The first word I'd like to highlight is raise. We're raising children, but I'm not raising the children. The staff, the national staff in the country, the parents, are raising the children. So if you see at the bottom of the screen, you see some of our talented teachers, our principals, teachers meeting with American teachers, learning through teacher training teams. Together we share that responsibility of raising children. Reaching their fullest potential is another key word in there. So many children aren't able to complete even primary school or secondary schools. So in order for them to reach their fullest potential, we want to clear the way for them to continue their education all the way through the end of high school. And then a third word I want to highlight here is the independent creative thinking. Those our goal is to raise children who transform nations at Children of the Nations, and we're going to need those transformational leaders to be trained and independent and have creative thinking. So that's another highlight of our education system, is the end result. So if you want to go ahead, every year, one of my roles is to support the education departments in all 5 countries that we work in. And what I've noticed over the years, as the education departments in each country develop their goals for their education departments in each country, some themes come out. And almost always the themes have to do with what's highlighted on this screen: student performance, improving teacher competency, supporting early childhood education, or some aspect, specific aspect of the educational system, and then assessment, using assessment to measure our growth. So I work with each country education coordinator in developing ways and means to do that. And in the corner, you're going to see a sample of one of our teacher training modules that we've developed. We've developed 20 teacher training modules for the teachers to use. Some teachers have a 2-year education in a 2-year teaching degree, and some have a 4-year teaching degree. And the nursery teachers don't always even have a degree of any kind, any training beyond high school. So in order to have a level playing field for the teachers, we've developed these teacher training modules that all of our staff go throughout their educational career with us. And on to the next slide. In addition to the country's goals, I also noticed a trend that I wanted to lead a little bit, not too much, but a little bit, in our development of our educational departments. So I noticed that early on that reading is not necessarily a habit in the countries that we work in, but we wanted to develop that habit. So what we've done is create an international goal. So besides the country's goals, there's one international goal each year. You'll notice reading was a 2-year goal, and we developed libraries, and we taught teachers how to teach phonics, because that was something that was missing in the curriculum of the country. The second, after that, we really focused on early childhood education for 2 years, having trainings, conducting seminars, and providing materials so that we could improve our early childhood education. And then the last 4 years, we've had a focus on STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. And each year we focused on one of those letters, and it actually doesn't spell STEM the way we chose to focus on it. But each year we've added things like computer labs and tablets and laptops for the university students. And we've had math competitions and science camps and engineering fairs and problem-solving competitions to enhance the creative and independent thinking of our students. So, beginning with the end in mind, we really have so improved our early childhood education. You're going to notice we have 775 students in the early childhood programs throughout our countries. And what has changed, you'll see in these pictures. What has changed is there's much more small group instruction, there's much more hands-on learning, and there's much more opportunity for students to independently think and learn in our classrooms. Traditionally, rote learning is a common method of teaching early childhood, and now in our classrooms, you're going to see much more of the student taking responsibility for their learning. Students begin early childhood education at age 3 or 4 in all of our countries. And so we have 2 or 3 years to prepare them for primary school through our early childhood program. On to the next slide. Then we also have primary education that we offer, and you notice we have over 2,000 students in our primary schools. In all of our countries, we have built or created our own primary education school buildings because the countries are unable to support the have the infrastructure to support primary education at the quality level that we feel is important. So we limit our class size in our schools. We hire trained teachers, where in other cases, sometimes teachers are not trained that are in the classroom. And we're able to provide enough resources for our students as they learn. The curriculum, some people ask, do you develop your own curriculum? Well, what I've noticed is that all of the countries are have very well developed curriculums and courses of study throughout primary school. The difficulty is the infrastructure in the countries. The countries do not have the infrastructure to teach a smaller class size. They don't have enough classrooms. They don't have enough teachers. So typically classrooms can run 80 to 100 students per class. And in that case, even though the curriculum is very good, the ability to be able to teach it individually to students is very difficult. So by offering our students in our VPP and home programs the opportunity to study at one of our schools, they're given a learning situation that's more conducive to actually obtaining the knowledge that they need to learn each year. So our primary schools are very well attended and open to community students as well to attend our primary schools. And then if you want to go on to the next slide, Terry, secondary education is so very important. Many students typically leave primary school and do not go on to secondary education, but our goal is that every student finishes and completes secondary education. Reasons why students don't complete secondary education include things like needing to get a job, needing to help provide for the family, needing to take care of younger siblings while mom or dad are at work, or the value of secondary education is not seen as important enough to spare the child those years of studying at secondary school. We have 1,356 secondary students right now. We operate 3 secondary schools in our African countries. And what we're seeing is that students are able, with our assistance, to complete secondary school successfully. So you're going to notice in some of the pictures, we've got computer labs in all of our high schools. We conduct graduations and celebrate with our Children of the Nations Village Partnership children, and our home children and our community children are all celebrated as they complete high school. And not only do they in high school learn the academics, but the holistic care areas are evident in all of our schools. So beyond getting an education, students also receive food, they receive medical care, they receive spiritual care and emotional support as they attend our schools. So each holistic care area is represented at the school. After successful completion of high school, some of our students go on to university, and the numbers just keep growing and growing every year. 10 years ago, we had 15 students in the university program. At this time, we now have 205 students, and we've had 158 graduates from our university vocational program. On the screen, you're going to see James on the left. He was able to go to a skills program in construction. After he finished his skills program, he was hired into the construction industry. He was well equipped for that. On the right, you're going to see Patrick, and Patrick is one of our students who attended law school in Sierra Leone. He's just recently graduated and is now studying for the bar. Even though we have the COVID crisis and it is affecting all of our students, all of our children, all of our schools, in all of our countries, Patrick continues to study so that when the time comes, when things open up from COVID, he can take the bar exam just think of the impact he may have locally or regionally or even globally with his law degree. And in the middle, you're going to see a picture of some of our university students in the Dominican Republic, gathering together with our founders to celebrate the opportunity that they have to attend university. Some of our students that have graduated from university are now doctors. We have graduated dentists. We have graduated teachers. We have graduated accountants and people who work in the hospitality industry, plumbers, electricians, nurses. We just have a wide variety, and think of the impact they will have as they continue on to get jobs in the outside sector and influence their communities. Our vision is to raise children who transform nations. So I want to tell you a story of one of our students, Susan. This is the same girl in all pictures. There's Susan as she begins to participate in our home care program. She and her sister were placed in our home care program and came from a very traumatic background, actually. I'm not able to tell you the details of her traumatic background, but just know that all of our children in our programs have experienced trauma. But look at that smile on her face. She still had the belief that God had a special place for her in her life. So as she grew and attended school and went to high school and was successful through her exams at the end of high school, she was accepted into a university, and we actually sent her to another country to attend university. She was able to attend university in Uganda, and with her friend Gardy, who is on the right side and Susan is on the left. Susan was able to obtain a 4-year degree in accounting and finance. And you'll see Susan on the right, that transformed woman, that change maker that she is. She is now has an accounting job and is right now our finance director in Sierra Leone. So she is not only serving in her field, but she is serving in our ministry as well. And what a blessing that is to us. Her story reminds me of my story just a little bit. My story started when I was just 11 years old. I became a single orphan. That's what we call our children who have lost one or two parents. But I became a single orphan at 11, and the impact that a teacher had on my life at that time, my dad and my brothers, I was helping to care for them. I was cooking, cleaning, and doing all of those things. But as I was caring for them, I wasn't sure that I would ever be able to go to university. I was never sure what my future held, actually. And a teacher involved herself in my life in the junior high years and inspired me to go for my dream of becoming a teacher. And her impact on my life caused me to want to impact lives like mine, like children like me, impact their lives in a positive way. So that's what drove me to become a teacher. God just prepared me with my life experiences so that I would be ready to serve these children in as they struggle a bit through hardships and have to learn how to fend for themselves and trust in Him for their every need. That's what I had to do. So to end today, I wanted to just first bring you some truth and also bring you some joy. So we can't argue with the fact that education is the most powerful weapon when you use it to change the world. We are preparing, our education department is preparing these children to be powerful change makers in their countries, in their societies, in their communities, in their families. So you can't deny the importance of education in the lives of these children. And these children recognize that. So these preschoolers in this next little video, they recognize that knowledge is power, and power is what they want, so that they can be the change makers for their societies. So take a look at this video and smile with me.
Power, and power is freedom, and I want it. We got to read, baby, read. We got to read, baby, read. The more you read, the more you know. Knowledge is power, and power is freedom, and I want it.
Read, baby, read. The more you read, the more you know. Knowledge is power, and I want it. That's what we want for every one of our children and children of the nations. Thank you for listening and joining me in this presentation about the Education Department in Children of the Nations.